Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council Member Turner, Smith, Ullman, City Manager Campbell, City Attorney Branham, and as always, the glue that holds everybody and everything together, Maggie. Council Member Mosley and Council Member Roney, I would like to start by saying thank you for y'all's nay votes on that Inspire project that passed just recently. Thank y'all for y'all's nay vote on that, because we really don't need it. I wasn't gonna get up here and try to say too much about this bike lane, because I know there's a whole lot of people in here gonna say something about it. But I do wanna say this right here. We keep coming back to the same spot because people from out of town wanna come up here and change the way that we live up here in Asheville. And they have some kind of ideal that the way we live is not adequate enough. I don't understand. Bike lanes are fine and dandy. I mean, that's healthy. Yet still there's a place for everything, and everything has its place. Downtown, where traffic is incredulous now to get through, is not that place. You say you're concerned, you listen to the business people about their concerns for their safety. You handle that. Are you listening to them about their concerns about their business now with this bike lane? How can you be concerned about one on one hand and not concerned about the other on the other hand when they both go together? I don't know. If we don't stop this somewhere, we're not gonna stop it nowhere. I know this just irks your soul to sit there and have to listen to me, Mayor Manheim. I know this irks your soul, because you have such disdain for people that come here to talk that you feel are below you, but that's cool. Yet still, election time will be coming. And the things that you're doing now, cutting off your nose and spite your face, come back to bite you. Listen to your business owners downtown, because you don't listen to the local residents. So listen to the people that put money in your pockets. Thank you.
After Leanna Joyner, Rashid Miambo, Mambo, I'm not sure if it's spelled correctly.
There's a point I'd like to bring up that really came to my attention yesterday evening. I'd requested an assessment from public safety, specifically the police department, about their concerns or lack thereof regarding the safety. And what I received last night that causes me concern is that in an email from the police chief, he expressed concerns. In that email, he also attached data regarding response times from Merriman Avenue. He says, our crime analyst examined North Asheville response times going back to 2018. The data is alarming. He also indicated that response times for priority calls, which according to this diagram includes things like homicide, armed robbery, gunshot wounds, and violent crimes. Those calls have increased by 2 minutes, which is a dramatic increase that has APD very concerned. The email also goes on to say that the very question I raised last Thursday was raised prior to, I don't know, when did we do bike lanes? In 2022 on Merriman. And at that point, it was his understanding that once the lanes were complete, data would be reviewed. And as of yet, there is not complete data because the lanes have not been completed. But here's the part that really gives me pause, especially in light of the discussion we had at the beginning of the meeting, where we were shown how downtown is something we say we want to prioritize as far as crime prevention, and it looks like we're heading in the right direction. But the final paragraph in the email says, at this time, it remains the position of APD that research on the Merriman Avenue bike lanes must be completed before any new bike lane projects are to be considered. Our ability to respond to all calls in a timely manner, but particularly priority calls which carry the most risk, remains a concern. So for me, I don't see how I could move in favor of this, knowing that there is a potential, as a result, safety downtown could potentially be affected. I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that email, since we didn't get it until late
I didn't see
afternoon.
that. Can you repeat one part? So the data was from 2018?
Well, I was just going to add, what the email says is that.
What it says is what I read.
And what you did not include,
Okay.
Antoinette, is the part where he says, since 2018, even prior to the completion of the bike lane project, response times for priority calls have increased by more than 2 minutes.
Well, what I'm looking
And then,
at,
I'm sorry, and then he goes on to say, a number of factors may be affecting the rise, not the least of which is APD's staffing crisis.
yes,
So I
but
would-
when you look though, let's
Ms.
go
Mosley,
back.
just a moment. I would just like to say, I'm not sure that the Merriman Avenue project is apples to apples this project. And they are collecting data on Merriman Avenue right now, which I drive multiple times a day because I live off of Beaver Dam. They've just laid
May I
down
ask the police chief, would you
Antoinette.
come forward and allow us to ask you a few questions then?
Do-
Is it your belief or suggestion that no more lanes be implemented until you have an opportunity to review all data?
I would prefer to have data to inform my opinion. And right now, I don't have that.
Chief, do your vehicles have sirens? Do all of the vehicles, are they outfitted with emergency sirens?
I think we know the answer to that.
Okay.
Yes.
And are police officers in pursuit legally allowed to go outside of traffic lanes to pursue solving the crime?
I believe we know the answer to that as well.
Okay.
I'm not in a court of law here, I'm just providing you, I'm being interrogated as if I were some sort of defendant when I've been asked to provide an opinion.
Sorry, feeling a
So I
little
don't
defensive.
appreciate it.
I can tell that you're feeling a little defensive.
No,
I
I'm
don't
feeling
appreciate-
insulted.
I don't appreciate seeing an email at 3:43 for the first time in this conversation we've been having for months, hearing of
Well-
concerns that we've never heard before at this dais.
Again, I've requested that information for quite some time.
Well, we had been given the information about the position of the police department on multiple
No,
occasions.
no, actually, because I looked through the data, what it said was police was consulted. What they actually said was never listed. We also hear things like businesses downtown were consulted, but they don't say what the businesses said.
I thought we had
Or
a
last
discussion
time
during the
we
work
saw-
session about the fact
Excuse
that
me,
public safety.
last time we saw
Antoinette.
that, well, last
Okay,
time
you
we
get to
saw,
interrupt whenever.
last time we saw also that folks went to WRES, but then when you dig a little deeper, their things were not being told. And so I was just in search of things we weren't being told. Back
So-
to you, Mayor.
Hey, my name is Jonathan Wainscott. My picture is actually in the city presentation. I went on the walking tour, and I was with Maggie there that day, and I lost my mind and had to leave because I think this plan is so preposterous. Wow, what's going on over here? And so this is the cross-section that everybody was shown of College down by where the Med Diner is. And just reading from the right to the left, because that's how I measured on site, we've got a 2'6" curb, a 6-foot bike lane, a 6.2-foot, which is weird, buffer, 8-foot lane for parking, a 12-foot lane for travel, and another 2-foot, 6-inch curb. And so I went out with my own tape measure and measured it, and the first thing I noticed is that the curb gutter configuration never measures 30 inches or 2 feet 6. It's always, I think, 24 inches on, throughout the city. And most of the curbs are granite also, and they're not like this. And so anyway, So that's 6 inches off, and so I took my measurements from the interior of the gutter right there and started marking off, and that's me marking the 6-foot bike lane, right? And then the 6-foot 2 inches buffer zone, all right? And then I go over 8 feet for the parking lane, and then by the time I got over to the 12-foot end of the traffic lane, I was on the other sidewalk, and you can see the granite there, and then by the time I finished drawing the other gutter and curb, I'm all the way over there, and so really it's, you know, you're like 4 feet off over 40 feet, so it's like 10%. It's sloppy. It's really sloppy to be shown all of this information. Now, let's go back to the regular layout. All right, instead of having a travel lane on the left with a car in it, show a city bus. In the parking lane, this is where you put all the loading. That's the loading zone. So you need to put a big truck where the parking lane is, and then tell me again how the fire trucks are going to be using the bike lane and the buffer lane when they come out. That's the emergency lane now. The fire engines are supposed to use the bike lane and the buffer lane. Does that make sense? Does that make any sense that we're going to use the bike lane and the buffer lane to drive emergency vehicles down? That makes sense to you. I don't want you to do this, but I kind of do want you to do this. You know? I kind of want, I do, because I think that failure is a learning experience, like the guy just said. You know, so do it. I think it will be hilarious. And then, you know, those who supported it, you'll have your name in history for doing such a spectacularly stupid thing.
We've got to think about what it does to the entire community. And like I said, in safety, when they say we're doing this for safety, I can't see the bike lanes being put in for safety. I think it's actually going to cause more safety issues. Thank you.
You know, I planned on not saying anything either, and now that I know how you're going to vote, I know how it's going. But I was speaking to a colleague earlier, and I mentioned how passionate people are about this particular issue in this particular place. And so it made me think of, you know, when you're having an argument, it's not really about the argument. It's about something that's underlying the argument. And I've been trying to figure out for months what that is. And I've been able to recognize some commonalities. You know, at first I thought people would think, okay, maybe the 3 black women aren't gonna vote on it, but then it wasn't lost on me that we happen to all 3 be natives too. So that's in one section. But the common thread that I've been hearing is more along the lines of people believe that the house is on fire, right? Coming out of COVID. And instead of dealing with the fire, we're focusing on measuring nice silk draperies. So it sounds to me that a lot of people, including the businesses downtown in marginalized communities, are not saying, no, we hate bike lanes. It's, what about us? You're overlooking us. You're being performative. And so I just want to let people know that I hear you, I support you. I especially believe that some people are believing we do things more for tourists than locals, and they see this as an instance of us catering to locals more than businesses that cater to locals.
You know, it's an interesting point.